It's midday. Good afternoon and welcome to News Today here on Joy News Multi TV. Coming up, these are: police are on the manhunt for the murderers of 2 African Americans whose bodies were discovered in a shallow grave at Akwemufie in the Eastern region. Now, patients visiting the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital to expect possible delays in healthcare delivery due to the shortage of doctors at the outpatient department. Also coming up, an Accra Circuit Court dismisses a submission of no case filed by lawyers for senior medical officer at the Ifyankwanta Regional Hospital, Dr. Sule Ali Gabas. The details of these and more, as well as business and sports, in the next hour. My name is Kwabna Chenchen Indebwati. Thank you for joining us. Our very first story: police are on the hunt for the murderers of 2 African Americans whose bodies were discovered in a shallow grave at Akwemufie in the Eastern region. The 2 sisters have been living in Ghana for almost 2 decades. Their bodies have since been deposited at the Korle Bu Hospital mortuary. A lawyer for the family of the murdered woman, Samson Ladi Ayenini, is hoping that the police will conduct a thorough investigation into the case. Samson, you were their lawyer. How have you taken all this?
I don't know. I'm still thinking that this is a dream. I mean, that this is not true, because I can't imagine that any human being will harbor such, devilish things and go and commit such, heartless, thing. I mean, it's unimaginable. Some individual or a group of persons can come together, go into the private rooms of individuals, take them out, hit them with cudgels, kill them, or even when they are not dead, and then take them about 30, 300 meters away from their house, and dig in the ground and bury them there. I mean, it's unheard of. It's unheard of. I just wish that, this really was a dream, but unfortunately, it happened. And well, we thank God for how swiftly the security have acted. The American embassy has also given their promise of cooperating. Of course, you know that they don't joke their citizens. So let's see how things go. I'm only hoping that the police will do their professional job and then make sure that these people will not escape the claws of the law.
Let's now hear from the police. And ASP Nketia Yeboah is the Eastern Regional Police Public Relations Officer. So far, what has the police been able to gather on this particular incident?
At the moment, police crime scene investigators from the Eastern Regional Police Command and the National Headquarters are in Siankra village. That is where the actual crime scene in near Akwemufie. Continue with the investigations. More police patrols have also been provided to calm the nerves of the people in the community. The 2 bodies, as aforesaid, been identified by the complainant Jamnapan after the exhumation. The police still are appealing to the general public to help us with information. No information is too big or too small. Anything that anybody has that he thinks it may be related to this dastardly act, such citizens should kindly let us have on the normal to freelance 111 or 18555, which is Vodafone MTN toll-free lines. We appreciate it very much. You need not mention your name, where you are speaking from. Just give us the information, and the police will act on it.
So as of now, the police does not seem to have any leads on this?
No, we are working on some leads, but for the moment, as for information, intelligence, no information is too small, too little. There are some information that we may not readily use but in future it can be very useful.
I see.
That is why. But now we need more information, more leads, more hints to help us arrest these perpetrators.
Okay. We are told by a family member that they were threatened earlier and complaints were lodged to the police. Is it a case that nothing was done about it?
This you are telling me it's news to me, but by our tradition, case of threat, police definitely will act. At times, a complainant or a victim will report a case. I'm talking of generalities. Then he will not be able to identify anybody. So if you are not able to identify anybody specifically, it becomes difficult to arrest anybody until there's evidence that Sumesi or Bintin is involved.
Chief Executive Officer of the Korle Bu Hospital, Dr. Gilbert Bakel, has warned patients visiting the facility to expect possible delays in healthcare delivery due to the shortage of doctors at the outpatients department. Over 100 house officers have left the Premier Teaching Hospital after serving 1 year as part of their training. But Dr. Bakel says they expect the staff strength to increase once new medical officers report to duty from next week. Fred Smith of our health desk explains why Korle Bu is short of doctors.
The CEO has made a point that there will be delays, but of course we've been told that new officers will be sworn in or will be inducted tomorrow, and they can start work maybe Monday. In the meantime, what patients can do, because you want to minimize loss of lives at the hospital, so we want to advise that anybody who wants to who needs medical care, say at Korle Bu, can also consider other areas, alternatives at 37 Military Hospital, the Police Hospital, the Rage Hospital for the southern sector. For the northern sector, you have Komfo Teaching Hospital, you also have the Tamale Teaching Hospital, as well as several other regional and district hospitals spread throughout the country. And there's a website that actually gives you a list of hospitals or medical facilities available to use. That's GhanaHospitals.com. If you go, that's a very important resource for medical facilities in Ghana. It will help in minimizing the impact of what's happening at Korle Bu. We're told that housemen who do their service, it's more like national service with the hospitals. Korle Bu receives a certain number, and those people, they should be there for a certain period. That time is up, and their mandate has not been renewed. The new set will have to come in, and there's some space in between their exit and the arrival of the new officers. And so that's why we do not have these doctors available to take care of patients. As we've been told, it's an administrative mistake.
Exactly, I was coming to that. What must have caused this thing?
Which is being resolved.
So this is not a situation that happens often?
Well, it doesn't happen always, except that you know, previously Korle Bu itself was recruiting the people, and then now the Medical and Dental Council will have to do that. And so that's how come the lack has come about. But as we said, Dr. Eli Achukwu, who is registrar for the Medical and Dental Council, they said they've learned lessons from this. It's not going to happen again. In the meantime, we've been assured that tomorrow, that's Friday, new officers will be inducted and this problem will be resolved.
Now to a story about discrimination based on skin color right here in Ghana. Now this is the story of Rosemary, who was compelled to drop out of school because she looked different and therefore felt unwelcome. Rosemary is an albino, a condition brought on by the lack of a particular skin pigmentation. Rosemary's story is just an example of how albinos feel unaccepted, discriminated against and isolated in various communities in Ghana.
22-year-old Rosemary lives in a wooden structure at Railways, a slum behind the VIP transport station at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle in Accra. She has been living in the slum for more than 5 years. Rosemary's story is one of disappointment and regret, which is no fault of hers, but something which could be blamed on her condition. She is an albino, and because of this, her ambitions were cut short. Like any other child, Rosemary had dreams of becoming someone important one day. She wanted to be a nurse to help others. But like many albinos, Rosemary has a visual impairment which made schooling difficult.
Na me call school, but na manual harm to me.
I had an eye defect, so I couldn't finish schooling. I dropped out in class 5. When writings on the board are small, I can't see, but I can when they are bigger. I'm always the only one left in class when we go on break, because that's the time I used to copy my notes. So I got discouraged and stopped schooling. In class 1, my teacher was very understanding. I told him my problem, so he always wrote my notes for me after lessons.
According to Rosemary, her new teacher was not patient enough to assist her cope in class. Frustrated, she dropped out.
When I went to class 4, the teacher didn't have time for me. So I was discouraged and dropped out. When the writings are big, I can see, but when they are small, I can't see. My grandmother had no help, so she was even excited that I had dropped out. Things could have been different if my parents were around.
Rosemary's inability to complete school due to her disability highlights the plight of children with albinism in Ghana. For the lucky ones, they could go through school to secure their future through education. But for others who are unable to cope, like Rosemary, they become paupers. Rosemary is now an attendant at a chop bar at the Adabraka market in Accra, far removed from the nurse she wanted to be. Even after school, getting a job is a Herculean hurdle. The director of the human rights group, Amnesty International, Lawrence Amesu, says more must be done by all to end discrimination against albinos.
Every human being, once you are born as a human being, you come to this world with fundamental human rights. And albinos have rights to live as human beings, as we all know.
There are also several myths about albinos which are not true, and the president of the Albinism Association of Ghana is unhappy about how people spread these myths, increasing discrimination against them.
A lot of misconceptions. One, that we are supernatural human beings. We don't die. We just vanish, and that is falsehood. And anytime I hear somebody saying that, I try to, educate them that no, this is wrong. We die. Especially people die having cancer. We've seen members, like 3 of them die, through cancer. There are a whole lot of maybe a white man impregnated your mom. And that's one other thing too, is that they think that it's even an irony. You said we are cursed, but you still believe that our body parts are good for magic.
Acceptance is all they want.
Out for the full documentary on unwanted people scheduled to air subsequently on the same channel, Joy News Multi TV. Now, some communities at the Bui resettlement area of the Bono-Ahafo region are worried about the re-emergence of the black fly in the area with the onset of the rainy season. Though there have been efforts by the state to eradicate the pest with spraying exercises, the communities say these have not been forthcoming in recent years. Joy News' Nesta Kafuyajuma has more in this report.
Black flies are biting insects found near rivers and streams for their immature stages. Through their bites, the insects frequently transmit nematodes, causing river blindness or onchocerciasis in humans. Since female black flies need blood to lay eggs, their biting causes great nuisance to both humans and animals. The activities of these black flies in and around Bui in the Banda district of the Bono-Ahafo region have been quite destructive in the not too distant past, and the re-emergence of the pest is of great concern to the people.
The re-emerging of the pest is disturbing.
The mass spraying in the community has ceased for 2 years now.
The district chief executive for Banda, Jacob Boateng, has however downplayed fears the black flies may return. He accused the New Patriotic Party in the constituency for spreading the falsehood just to score cheap political points.
The people of Banda haven't seen any black flies around them. It is political. Well, recently, the main opposition made a press conference. Now there's black flies at Bree settlement or catchment area. And let me tell you, my friend, when you get to Bree site, and I'm inviting the press conference, those who organize the press conference, they should go there. They should even leave their clothing and sleep for 1 hour if they will see black fly. So there's no black fly at Banda.
Joining is caught up with the district director of health service for Banda, Jacob Munukpa, who also denied the black flies have come back to the Banda and Bui communities.
This news to me. Well, since I took over in October last year, I've gone around all the communities in my district. Not once, not twice, more than 4 or 5 times. I haven't seen a single fly. I haven't seen a single fly in my district. Though, these are the district that some years back, we were having a problem. We had a strain exercise. Since I haven't seen any fly in the district.
Nestor Kafuya Jumes report for Joy News.
Students in the University of Ghana are asking government to find alternate ways of paying utilities and not put that extra burden on them. The students have resisted the cost-sharing directive by government since it was announced on March 25. Now, student leader Adams Hussein is demanding a review of the directive.
Our concerns are that next academic year, our school fees are going to be increased by 20%. Residence fees will increase, and the JCR dues will increase. We have a lot to pay, and our students, we don't foresee how our parents are going to make the money. And it will not be fair on the part of the current crop of students for the government to tell them that they should pay. There is no way we can pay. And also, government argument that 70% of students are now in private hostels and they are paying. Government should be ashamed of itself, because it is government's responsibility to provide accommodation to students in the country. It is due to the failure of the government. That is why the private came in. And in this particular government, NDC Manifesto 2012, page 19, they assured the country that if we give them the mandate, they are going to provide more accommodation facilities to all students in public institutions. So it is indictment on the government. After giving you your mandate, after giving you our power, you then come and tell us that you cannot provide, and because some people are in the private hostels and they are paying utility bills, as such we should pay. And we are calling on the government, by the ending of Friday, he should come out clear to make his position known, whether it is coming on or not. What we are saying is that we will not be able to pay.
But have you even been told how much you are going to pay for you to resist?
The government herself cannot determine the amount of money we'll be paying. They will give everything to the university. So the university will take into consideration the debt that they are owing Ghana Water Company Limited and Electricity Company of Ghana, and they will share the cost among the number of students in the university.
So what exact action do you want to take? Because you are saying that you want to hear from government by Friday.
Yeah, we are planning to go on the street to register our displeasure to the government, and we are doing this with joint effort with other tertiary institutions.
I see also in your statement that you intend to, if possible, boycott next academic year if government does not heed to your request. Is it something that you think you can do? Is it something that you are considering?
It is possible, feasible, and attainable.
We are taking a break here. Join News Today return shortly, right after this. There's joy all around as a family in the Huni Valley area in the Western region is united with their 3-month-old baby girl. Correspondent Benjamin Peters has more.
It is the joy of every parent to be united with their child, but that of Prince and the wife, unfortunately, didn't have that joy earlier on because somebody stole their 3-month-old baby away from them. But thank God, a divine intervention happened, and they are now reunited with their baby.
So how did the baby disappear in the first place?
Yeah, according to the mother of the baby, she sent the child to the father, and the father also gave the child to somebody that he was going to purchase something. But unfortunately, he took the child unaware of the one who was taking care of the child and sent her to a different community which is far away from where they were. So fortunately, the incident, the news spread all over the community, and a taxi driver who was telling a friend about the incident, I think saw the lady with the new baby. And what the taxi driver was saying is that this is a lady who just cropped up in the community, announcing to them that she has given birth, but unfortunately no member of the community had seen her pregnant. So they became suspicious of what the lady was saying. So upon informing the friend of what had happened in that community, and also told the driver that this is what they've also heard in their community, that somebody's baby was missing. So and they informed the police about what the driver was telling the friend. They quickly informed the police. So the police quickly rushed to that community, which is called Ediakwa, and fortunately they came across the baby, so they arrested the thief.
Health professionals have been unable to determine the cause or even the name of the disease that is afflicting people in the township of Bremambakon in the central region. Almost everyone in the township is coughing, raising concern about the possible outbreak of a contagious disease. My colleague Hannah Odame has been following the story and now joins me in the studio with more. So, Hannah, this appears to be a very serious situation, isn't it?
Obviously, as you said, because you do not have the name of that cough. And so it's serious because both health officials there and Noguchi have not been able to find out the cause as of now.
So what is to happen? Are they just going to wait till something comes up?
Well, this cough has been going on for more than a month, and what the health officials did was to send samples of the sputum to Noguchi Memorial Center. And what they did was they tested for influenza and tuberculosis, and both came out negative. This was done at the virology department, so we are hoping that, my sources tell me, since it's negative for that, they will take it to the bacteriology department to also find out if probably it might be a bacterial infection, so they can at least solve it, because for now all they are doing is just supportive treatment, and that's treatment giving as and when they know what is the cause, so they can give you some supportive treatment to it.
So aside that, what other measures are they taking to determine the cause of this mysterious cough? Mysterious cough.
They have done mass screening to ensure that the few in the town who do not have this cough are not do not get infected. Also, they have embarked on serious and massive education, so that if you are in a community or if you are in a home where a lot of the people are coughing, probably you want to excuse yourself for that time and go to stay with other relatives or other places where the cough is not as of now.
I see. All right, Hannah, thank you very much for that update. Hannah Odame was following that story, or she will be keeping her eyes on it and bringing us a lot more later on. Now, the head of research at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, Dr. Akwesi Anin, has been appointed by the United Nations Secretary General as an advisor on peace building for 2015-2016. Dr. Anin comes to the position with experience on conflict and security issues in the West African sub-region and the continent at large. Dr. Anin shed more light about his new responsibility on Joy News Current Affairs program, PM Express.
That is a 10-member advisory board of 10 people selected from all over the world by the Secretary General to advise him on how to use the 100 million annually that the Peace Building Fund has. Now, the Peace Building Fund seeks to fill the gap between the end of a peacekeeping mission and then the beginning of what in the literature or is called the post-conflict reconstruction phase. So these are fairly small sums of money, from $1 million to $10 million, that should have played a catalytic role. So you will notice that, say, in La Côte d'Ivoire, the fund, we've given La Côte d'Ivoire some money that is supposed to improve state authority. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, it's about security governance and conflict prevention. In Mali, it's about training the gendarmerie to prevent conflict-related sexual violence. In Guinea-Bissau, it's about deepening security sector reform and then the rule of law, and then enhancing national dialogue. So basically, it's to say which countries are coming out of situations of fragility and crisis, and how can the UN intervene with fairly small sums of money.
Lawyers for some Ghanaian celebrities are due to meet with the police today to conclude arrangements for a protest vigil to demand immediate solutions to the energy crisis. The vigil, scheduled for the 16th of May, is being organized by musician Sarkodie and an actress Yvonne Nelson with support from other showbiz figures. On the streets of Accra, many people seem to be looking forward to the vigil.
The do so must stop is very necessary because it's causing so many predicaments in Ghana here. As I talk to you now, most of my friends have been laid off from work. They are not getting any work because there's power crisis going out everywhere. Please, it's not fine. And I support whatever the celebrities are doing. It is a very good advocacy. I mean, this will help to reduce the doom so if the government will listen to them.
Sincerely, I don't think it's worthwhile because if we would all be sincere to ourselves, I don't think the energy crisis started in a day. It's because of our leaders not having the foresight to know that in future years to come, the numbers would increase and our energy demand would increase. So I think it's supposed to be a gradual process. But then the only thing is that the leaders should also explain that it isn't though that making promises would make you stop. I'll help the citizens understand that it's going to take time, but then they are working at it so seriously. But I think the vigil and the pressures, it doesn't really help. It might seem to rather distract them from the real thing.
It will use something good because it's sometimes, let me say, an influence or pressure to the government. It's only maybe people around. If actors and actresses as well as students are doing it, it's going to be of great help.
Yeah, I think it will help. It would help a lot as students and as celebrities as a whole. So I think it will help a lot if they go on that because when you go home, you can't study because lights are out and even sleep. You can't sleep because the weather is so hot. And as a country, I think in business, in the business industry, I think it would help because people are losing their money, they are losing their jobs. Let's say those selling fish, their fridge is not working and they can't afford to buy generator just because the lights are out. So I think what they are doing is good. It will help a lot.
Oh. If only the government, because if you listen to our president some time ago, when he visited Kumasi, he said, Ethiopia, we take, what's the name, he decided not to listen to anybody, whatever you say, he don't mind and all those things. But it's up to him, it's up to him. If only he wants to do something, he should listen to the song and then do something about the doom. So it's very, very serious. How can you have a light out for 24 hours and have light in for 12 hours.
The government has to know, he has to hear some people talk. I think because we aren't talking and we aren't acting, he thinks everything is okay because Ghanaians are, everything will be okay. He comes back, he said by April it will be okay. Now he comes back to tell us by September it will be okay. I think if we talk, if we go on the streets and tell him we are not satisfied with what he's telling us, I think something will be done with it.
It's necessary. But then this government of Ghana don't mind anything about strike or something like that. They don't like that.
It's not going to bring anything. So we just create awareness, and doomsday awareness is there. It's not a new thing because opposition parties have demonstrated, independent bodies have also demonstrated. So I'm saying that it's not necessary to focus on other things because the doomsday solution is not just by demonstration. It's by putting proper mechanism in place and checking authorities who are responsible for the doomsday.
Well, lawyer Nana Akosiewa, who is one of the lawyers for both Sarkodie and Yvonne Nelson, joins us over the telephone with more on this. So, lawyer, have you met with the police yet?
We'll be meeting with the police very soon. In the next couple of hours, we are meeting with the police.
I suppose you are hopeful the police will give you the go-ahead, but what if the police says no?
Well, as you know, if you look at the Public Order Act, it spells out clear procedure as to what one should follow, the procedure one should follow when one decides to engage in such act. That is to say, when one decides to exercise his or her constitutional right to assemble. Now, we have kick-started the process, and we believe that the police as key players in the democratic dispensation and in the rule of law would not, as it were, prevent us from or prevent us nor my clients from embarking on their constitutional rights.
Now, let me ask, how exactly is Dumsor affecting your clients?
How exactly
is Dumsor affecting your clients?
Well, if you've heard from my clients, that is Yvonne Nelson in particular, when she gave her interview to the BBC, did tell the BBC about the situation, about the fact that the government is not being straightforward, is not being truthful to the people of Ghana. And of course, as people in the showbiz, everybody is affected in a way. You are unable to sleep at night because of Dumsor. Even if you can afford a generator, the noise from the generator alone is discomforting. Quite apart from that, having to fuel the generator every now and then takes a toll on your income. So these are the ways that the Dumsor is affecting not only them, but every Ghanaian as well. Lives are being lost and what have you. And
your clients believe that this vigil will actually end Dumsor?
Well, they believe that they, let me say this, that the motivation to embark on this is to walk the talk. As you may know, there was, they started an online campaign with a hashtag Dumsor must stop. Now, they believe that having exercised their right to speech under the Constitution, they wanted to walk the talk. They didn't want to leave it at that. They find this as a civic duty, as a discharge of their civic responsibility to God and country, in that there are so many people who are afflicted by the phenomenon of Dumsor and who do not have that same platform or that privilege of a platform as they do as celebrities to air or to voice out. So see it as an amplification. What they are doing is to amplify the voice of the people who are afflicted by the phenomenon of Dumsor. I recall that in one of our conversations, one Ghanaian shared his experience with Yvonne in particular, saying that his father is diabetic and his treatment, that is the insulin, has to be refrigerated, has to be frozen. And because of Dumsor, you're unable to do that, and it's affecting his treatment. Now,
Lawyer, thank you very much for your time on Joy News today. This afternoon, Lawyer Nana Kwesiwa is a private legal practitioner. He's one of the lawyers for Yvonne Nelson and Sarkodie as well. Now, an Accra Circuit Court has dismissed a submission of no case filed by lawyers for a senior medical officer at the Ifyankwanta Regional Hospital, Dr. Sule Ali Gabas. The medical officer is facing 2 counts of defiling a child under 16 years and unnatural carnal knowledge, charges to which he has pleaded not guilty. He was arrested in October last year after Joy News investigations revealed his alleged sexual activities with a senior high school student. My colleague Joseph Opoku-Gakpo was in court this morning and now joins me in studio with more. So, Joseph, what happened in court today?
You know that in subsequent hearings of this particular case, the police had brought in some witnesses to testify as to why they think that this man should face some prison sentence over these allegations that have been made against him, including the boy himself and even our own Manas Azura Winnie, who had actually been in court to provide evidence in camera. Today, the prosecution, the lawyers for Dr. Gabas had actually filed a submission of no case, indicating that all the case that the prosecution has built till date has no merit and so should actually be dismissed and the case halted. But they base that on 3 specific claims. They claim that the 2 counts that has actually been brought against him, the charges are contradictory. They also claim that some of the witnesses had contradicted themselves. And then the final point, they claim that the prosecution had not provided enough evidence to back their claims that he was engaged in the acts that he's been accused challenged of. And so the prosecution actually objected that, and the judge today agreed with the prosecution. In the view of the judge, the defense had not done enough work in discrediting the evidence that the police has brought before her, and so she's unable to dismiss the case. There was a bit of a controversy about the age of the boy, which was also one of the things that the lawyers for the defendant had brought up, because one of the charges has to do with defiling a minor. And there were claims that he's not actually 16 years. But the judge, in response to that, also made the point that, in her view, enough evidence has not been brought to her to substantiate the specific age of the boy. And so she's unable to base the application for no submission, for the submission of no case on that, and let Dr. Gabaz go. So finally, the ruling was actually that Dr. Gabaz should open his defense on May 13 when the case would be heard again. But right in court, the lawyer for Dr. Gabaz, John Benson, indicated that he would be appealing that ruling that had been given today, because he's not ready to open his defense, and that he would want the judge to hold on to the case in terms of the hearing on May 13, so that then when his appeal is heard at the High Court, then they would come back to it. But the judge indicated that between now and May 13, they're looking forward to what will happen. If that application has not been granted, then they'll come back to court, and then they'll be forced to actually open their defense in the case.
I see. Joseph, thank you very much for that update. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo was in court and joined me here. Now, Togo footballer Emmanuel Shea Adebayo has launched an astonishing attack on his own family with a raft of allegations, including several against his mother, who allegedly denied him access to his dying brother. Joy Sports' Redwan Ibrahim Asante has been telling us much more about this tale of the story.
You know, I think somewhere last year, we had, you know, his mom and also his relatives, especially, you know, his sister, go on the radio. We at Joy FM Radio, just some 3 or 4 years ago, they came with the same issue that Adebayo was spending, you know, outside and not, you know, minding the family. It was a huge issue. Adebayo himself came out, you know, at that time. His agent, Fusena Jagba, was quick to water down those allegations and said Adebayo was catering for the family at full scale. And so that was the beginning. And then they go on radio to say Adebayo is still neglecting or shirking his responsibilities of taking care of his family, especially the nuclear family, his sister and also brother, Rotimi, and then Peter, who passed on a year ago. You know, so that was the beginning of the whole thing. And now Adebayo has spoken, written, and says it should be a case study for other African footballers.
Now, this particular situation, is it a peculiar situation to just Adebayo, or is something that happens with a lot more of our footballers?
Primarily, I think it's an African issue. I mean, I'm yet to, you know, hear the South Americans complain about this. You know, likewise the Europeans or the Asian footballers talk about it. It's been an issue that the African players, you know, go through, and you know, for some of them it's severe. You know, there are cases of even Ghanaian players, you know, complaining bitterly. We've had players change their phone numbers, you know, on countless occasions. Every time, you know, they move abroad, they come in with different numbers every season, you know, and it tells you that it's unstable. They are receiving calls, even friends. You know, when you're in the Black Stars camp, an outsider can, you know, strangely walk to a player and say, do you remember me 5 years ago when we were playing for Brecum Arsenal? I bought you this and that, needing something from you. And when you give your number out, that's the beginning of more trouble, or troubles to come. You'll be hunted, you'll be called, you know, at all times, even at training. So players are very, 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 you know, strict, you know, in giving out and unwilling to give out their contact numbers, especially.
Are there cases like this? I mean, similar ones in relation to some other Ghanaian players?
Yes, John Pencil. You know, he's been, you know, virtually or literally heckled anytime he's in the camp of the Black Stars, and it's a big issue for him to deal with. Stephen Appiah, you know, he used to have, you know, a lot of people, even when Stephen Appiah was injured and was not playing football, people would queue in front of his house waiting for Appiah to do something. I mean, it's just serious. The burden on players, you know, just serious, and they can't contain it, you know, at a point in time. You know, I've had players, you know, complain that their performance has been affected because of some of these social issues. Wow. I mean, every time your mom is calling, your dad is calling, your sister is calling, you know, they want you to carry them abroad. Like Adebayo's case, he said he helped his brother, you know, go for a trial. Listen, this is one of the quotes he put in. He says, when I was in Monaco, I thought it would be good to have a family of footballers. So I made sure my brother, Rotimi, gets into a football academy in France. Within a few months, out of 27 players, he stole 21 phones. So that compounded the issue for Adebayo to deal with it. And some of the players, they just can't take it.
Okay. You're still watching Joy News today here on Multi TV. We're taking a break here. When we return, that'll be it for the international news segment. But before we take leave of you, the headlines this hour. Police are on the hunt for the murderers of 2 African Americans whose bodies were discovered in a shallow grave at Akwemufie in the Eastern region. Patients visiting the Kolebu Teaching Hospital to expect possible delays in healthcare delivery due to the shortage of doctors at the outpatients department. And an Accra Circuit Court has dismissed a submission of no case filed by lawyers for Senior Medical Officer of the Efiang Kwanta Regional Hospital, Dr. Sule Ali Gabas. Well, that'll be it for the news this hour. For more news, anyway, do well to log on to myjonline.com. My name is Kwabena Chenchen Ibuatin. Have a good afternoon.